Hello and welcome to our thought for the day for Wednesday the 26th of August. For those of you that know me, you probably know me as Steve, but you're not surprised to know that wasn't the name I was given at my baptism. The name at my baptism was Stephen. So how appropriate that our reading today is from the speech that my namesake gave to the Sanhedrin in the book of Acts, chapter 7, verses 17 to 43. As the time drew near for God to fulfill his promise to Abraham, the number of our people in Egypt had greatly increased. Then a new king, to whom Joseph meant nothing, came to power in Egypt. He dealt treacherously with our people and oppressed our ancestors by forcing them to throw out their newborn babies so that they would die. At that time Moses was born, and he was no ordinary child. For 3 months he was cared for by his family. When he was placed outside, Pharaoh's daughter took him in and brought him up as her own son. Moses was educated in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and was powerful in speech and action. When Moses was 40 years old, he decided to visit his own people, the Israelites. He saw one of them being mistreated by an Egyptian, so he went to his defense and avenged him by killing the Egyptian. Moses thought that his own people would realize that God was using him to rescue them, but they did not. The next day, Moses came upon 2 Israelites who were fighting. He tried to reconcile them by saying, "Men, you are brothers. Why do you want to hurt each other?" But the man who was mistreating the other pushed Moses aside and said, "Who has made you ruler and judge of us? Or are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian yesterday?" When Moses heard this, he fled to Midian, where he settled as a foreigner and had 2 sons. After 40 years had passed, an angel appeared to Moses in the flames of a burning bush in the desert near Mount Sinai. When he saw this, he was amazed at the sight. As he went over to get a closer look, he heard the Lord say, "I am the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." Moses trembled with fear and did not dare to look. Then the Lord said to him, "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. I have indeed seen the oppression of my people in Egypt. I have heard their groaning and have come to set them free. Now come, I will send you back to Egypt." This is the same Moses they had rejected with the words, "Who made you ruler and judge?" He was sent to be their ruler and deliverer by God himself through the angel who appeared to him in the bush. He led them out of Egypt and performed wonders and signs in Egypt, at the Red Sea, and for 40 years in the wilderness. This is the Moses who told the Israelites, "God will raise you up a prophet like me from your own people." He was in the assembly in the wilderness with the angel who spoke to him on Mount Sinai and with our ancestors, and he received living words to pass on to us. But our ancestors refused to obey him. Instead, they rejected him and in their hearts turned back to Egypt. They told Aaron, "Make us gods who will go before us. As for this fellow Moses who led us out of Egypt, we don't know what has happened to him." That was the time they made an idol in the form of a calf. They brought sacrifices to it and reveled in what their own hands had made. But God turned away from them and gave them over to the worship of the sun, moon, and stars. This agrees with what is written in the book of the prophets. "Did you bring me sacrifices and offerings 40 years in the wilderness, people of Israel? You have taken up the tabernacle of Molech and the star of your god Rephan, the idols you made to worship. Therefore I will send you into exile beyond Babylon." So if you ever needed a quick synopsis of Moses' life, there it is for you. Stephen must have been a great speaker, a wonderful orator. But what else do we know of him? Stephen is described in Acts chapter 6 verse 5 as a man full of faith and the Holy Spirit, and also as having the face of an angel in verse 15. Stephen was one of the 7 deacons who were entrusted with the administration of the relief work of the early church. We know nothing of his conversion to Christianity, although it is thought that he was among the 72 that Jesus sent out, as Luke tells us about in chapter 10 of his Gospel. What can we learn from this part of Stephen's speech? The Sanhedrin were the assembly of the Jewish elders, so surely they would have known the story of Moses. So what is Stephen trying to achieve by retelling it? And in standing up and giving this long and wonderful speech, Stephen knows that by accusing Israel and her leaders of once again rebelling against the will of God, he is going to face severe consequences. Stephen doesn't really defend himself, but simply uses the opportunity to tell them of what they are doing wrong, just as Jesus had done. When we are witnesses for our faith, are we prepared to go as far as Stephen? Are we even bold enough to simply share our faith with others? In giving this history lesson of the Jewish people, Stephen gives a clear testimony of his unfailing belief in God's faithfulness, despite the continued failings of his chosen people. Do we share that unfailing belief? Right now it can be really confusing and challenging for our faith, for us to trust in God. But we must always remember that, however tough it is, God is in control. We can never lose sight of the fact that this world is not everything, that there is something better to come in God's eternity. Our God is just, and he will make things right. God has a plan for each and every one of us. He wants to use us, just like he did with Moses and Stephen, to make a difference in the world. So let's all try and make a difference in our world today. Bless you and have a wonderful day.